Okay, so a little bit more about aggregation functions. The first thing I wanted to do was to show you where to get some help. So let's say you don't know what extension aggregation functions are available. Under Help, you can click on SQLite Syntax Help. And it's not going to pop up immediately, but it will open another Firefox window that describes SQL as understood by SQLite. And there's a bunch of topics available, many of which we've already seen, but the ones in particular here are aggregate functions. So here's a list. Average is one we haven't played with yet. Count we've played with. Max, min, sum we've played with. And then total, which is a little bit similar to sum. So there you go. That's how you can get some help about SQL, as well as lots of examples of some of these different things here. All right, so back to queries. A couple of things. Wait, I've lost it. Here it is. What if we wanted to group by more than one variable? So here we've grouped by species ID. What if we wanted to do species ID and year? Well, we can do that. We just have to put a comma after the group by, and then the other variable that we want. So now we're going to get both species ID and year grouped. And let's see, and we're still ordering by total weight, descending. So within each year, we're getting the heavy critters. So we've got a few problems here. One is we don't know what the year is. So let's add that information, year. And let's also, instead of sorting by, well, let's do total weight, but let's also, before we order them by total weight, let's order them by year. So this works for both group by and order by. You could have multiple variables in there. Okay, so there we go. So now we've got year, there's 1977, and here's all of the species for 1977, and they're ordered by the total weight. So the one that we caught the most mass is at the top, and all the way down to the bottom. Now we might wonder, we really want to actually include all of these critters here. What if we only want to include only those that have a certain number of captures? So we could do that. We could limit what we're going to do. What we'd like to do is filter this thing, right? So we can't use a where clause though, because what we want to do is not where is going to apply to the underlying data. What we want to do is work with the grouped variables, the aggregated variables. So we need to have a different keyword for that. It does exactly the same thing as where, but only for aggregation variables. So we're going to put it after group by. Then we're going to say having, and the function is count species. Count star actually, because I just want to know how many rows are there with that species ID in that year greater than 10. Let's say. I don't know what this is going to do. Let's try it out. I really would like to have that be bigger, but I don't know how to get that. Okay, well that shrinks it down a bit. So we caught, so now you can see quite a few of we've got fewer species per year now, because all the ones that are only a few individuals, less than 10, have all been filtered out. So DM and DS are still at the top of the list. in both cases, but they swap around. So there you have it. That's restricting having is going to filter our groups. So basically it first selects, first we get grouped by species and year, and then we're going to pull out only those groups where there are more than 10 rows in the data set. And then finally we're ordering, still by year and then by total weight. Last thing to think, these sorts of queries are now getting quite complicated and quite extended in what they're doing. You might think, geez, I'd really like to be able to run this query again, but how do I in effect save this query so that I can use it at a different time? I don't spend a lot of effort getting it sorted out the way I want. What I'd like to do is save it. And a saved query is what is called a view. So a view is just going to be like a table in our database, but it's going to do some kind of selection and aggregation and filtering before it gets shown to you. And in fact, a view is really just the SQL statement that created it. So what we can do here is we add, so the question is, how do we create a view? The answer is we use a function, a keyword called create view now. So we could also create a table. That's been done. That's how we got the tables that we currently have. But now we're creating a view. We're going to give it a name. So let's call it species by year. And then we're going to use the keyword as, because this is now going to say, okay, all of the stuff that follows after is going to be saved in this value right here. Create view, species as all of this stuff. We run that. Oops. Well, that didn't work quite right. Oh. I see. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have anything. What we have to do is we go over here, and you'll notice that our views count is now up to 1. And there it is, species by year. If I click on that and go to browse and search, there is the view that I had just created. So here are the results that we had for our view. And if we click on structure, we see the SQL statement that created that particular view. So that's how you can save an SQL statement from one time period to the next. If I exit this thing now, let's see, let's just do that. Exit. And start it up again. See what databases. Okay. There we go. So I'm connecting to this database. There it is. So now I've got all my tables are there, right? But none of the SQL statements that I created are there except for this one, which is now saved as a view.